God bless you. So my story is similar with like Sister Madison's, that I grew up in a family completely without faith, but the desire to want to go to church things was not there for me. So I grew up with beautiful, beautiful parents, but I would say my house was kind of just a house without God. There wasn't like, oh, I don't like God, or like, yeah, there is a God. It was kind of just this nothingness. No Bible, no crucifix, I don't know who Jesus was, couldn't tell you who Mary was, nothing. And that's how I grew up. And I was happy and I loved my life and I had amazing best friends and I was a competitive dancer for 10 years of my life. Dancing was my everything. I would go to school, go to dance, sleep, go to school, go to dance, sleep. And so then it was time to go to college and I didn't know where to go. I was like, I don't know where to go. And then I picked this college. And then freshman year, I meet this beautiful young woman, and we became like best friends, but like the type of best friends that like we did everything together, except for one thing. On Sundays, she would go to Mass, and on Sundays, I would sleep. So she would ask like, oh, you want to go to Mass with me? Because, like you're alone. And I was like, that's okay. I'll just sleep in. When you come back, wake me up and then we'll go eat lunch. Because she didn't really have a very profound relationship with the Lord. She went to Mass because she grew up going to Mass every Sunday. And so she knew she had to because her parents told her she has to. So she would go to Mass and then never talk to me about God. So then the COVID virus hit. So COVID happens. We go back to our houses and we come back to school the next year, but everything is closed. This is 2020, August of 2020. Everything is closed, but we already signed for an apartment together. So, and I was like, I'm not staying home. And she's like, neither am I. And I was like, okay, let's go. Let's go to this apartment. We'll just do school online. We'll be like best friends together, living together. So fun. Little to my knowledge, she, during COVID, actually had this major conversion where she fell in love with the Lord and actually desired a relationship with him. So, but she didn't tell me this. So in August, we go back to our apartment, and I'm like, yes, we get to sleep in, and let's watch all these shows. And she's like, actually, I really want to go to church. And I was like, COVID happens, church is closed. And she's like, actually, the only thing that is open on campus is the Catholic Church. And I was like, oh, darn. Are you sure? So she was like, go to Mass with me, go to Mass with me. And I was like, fine, because I am an extrovert, and I don't like to be alone. I went to Mass, so I was like, fine, I'll go. I go to Mass, and I did not like it at all. I was like, who is this man with this weird dress? And then there was the bells, and then we were standing and kneeling. My face, not exaggerating, was literally like this the whole time. And then I went up for the blessing. Poor priest. I was like, I don't know why I can't get the bread, but I don't know why. So then she was like, how did you like it? And I was like, it was terrible. She's like, oh. Well, and I was like, but I don't like to be alone. So she kept inviting me to things. I go to my first ever Bible study. She's talking, and there was a sister there. I didn't know nuns existed at all. And I was like, what is she wearing? I don't understand. She starts talking about this snake and this woman, Genesis, the book of Genesis. But I was like, the snake, and she's like, and she stomps the head of the snake. And I was like, this is crazy. I'm never reading that book ever. And so I'm looking down because I wouldn't look up at this sister because I was terrified. And the moment I look up, I see that she's looking at me. And I was like, oh no. And she was like, here, you want to go to this retreat? And I was like, yes, I do. And then I was like, why do I say that? And I know that this woman is a holy person because of her dress. So I can't lie. That's bad, right? So I was like, I have to go. And my friend was like, are you going? And I was like, I have nothing to do that weekend. I'll go, and this will be my last church thing. Stop asking me. My 3-day retreat. Friday happened. Didn't like it. I wanted to leave and go home as fast as I could. They had a live Stations of the Cross with a man dressed like Jesus with the fake blood and everything, and people were crying, and I was like, oh, get me out of here as soon as possible. And then the next day happens. All these people are giving talks. And I was like, these people are saying all these things that are bad, but they're not bad. These people are crazy. I can finally tell my friend I didn't like it, and she'll never ask me to go to church again. Someone even comes up to me and is like, do you ever think you'll become Catholic? And I said, no, I do not. I will never become Catholic. So then Saturday night happens, and it's time for adoration. I don't know what a priest is. I don't know what the Eucharist is or anything. So I'm there, and everyone's kneeling. So of course I'm kneeling because I don't want to be the weird girl not kneeling. So I'm kneeling, people are crying. I was listening to the people crying. I'm like, this is crazy. And so people were praying, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go like this because I have to look like holy like all the other people, just like this. And so then the priest started to bring around the monstrance to every single person. And so I'm there, and I see his feet. The priest is right in front of me. I'm like, okay, it's my time to look up at the gold thing and to look back down and be like, yes, I can do that. I can fake that. Yeah, don't worry. I was like, it's my time. So then I'm there, and I'm like, look up, and then look down. So then I look up, and in that moment, it was like I could see for the very first time in my life. I couldn't breathe for my whole life, and it's like the first time I ever inhaled and took a breath. I knew in that moment that God existed, God was there, and that he loved me. Everything from my head looking down to looking up, in that moment, my entire life changed. And I was the weird person crying. I started sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. And I was like, I love that piece of bread, yes. And I still don't understand what's going on, but I want it. I couldn't have enough of it. So I leave the retreat, and I'm telling my friend all this. And she's like, are you serious? I'm like, I'm so serious. Make me Catholic. How do I become Catholic? So, and then I did. I went through the whole process, and then I was baptized, First Communion, Confirmation, all in the Easter Vigil Mass. At the same time, like Sister Madison said, together. She's 1 minute spiritually older than me. She was baptized 1 minute older than me. And in that moment, I was baptized. I loved the Lord, and I still knew nothing. I just knew that I loved him, and whatever he wanted to speak to my heart, I would do. So I was there, and I was taking a picture, and from across the room, I see our sister, at the time, the sisters, but a sister that was walking towards me. And I'm just taking pictures, and I see her walking towards me, and I stopped. I was like, wow, she's so beautiful. Not like, of course, my sisters are all very beautiful, but not like she's beautiful, like, oh, qué linda hermana. Like, no. It was something that deep down in my heart, I was like, oh my gosh. I've known her for months, but why is she so beautiful? And why is that what I'm supposed to be? Deep down in my heart, I knew at that moment I was baptized. 30 minutes later, the Lord is telling me I need to be his. And I was like, I'm making this up. I know I want to be Catholic, but that's like, that's like super Catholic. I don't know. And so I was like, Lord, I think I'm wrong. I'm wrong. You can't be calling me to this because like, I'm just like newly Catholic and I don't know. But I'm like, but why do I just I go home and then I'm sitting there and all I want to do is just be with the sisters. Like in my mind, in the back of my mind, it was always, what are the sisters doing right now? I wonder what do they eat for dinner? How do they eat for dinner? Now I obviously know. And then sometimes Sister Madison and we would go driving, like she said. And we would drive past the convent. Our apartment was driving past the convent. And I'd be like, maybe if we take another loop, they will be taking out the trash, and then we can say hi. So let's just drive around the convent one more time. And she was like, that's a great idea. And so we would drive around, and then the sisters weren't there. I was like, what about if we just do it again? And maybe a little slower. And she was like, that's a great idea. So we probably circled the convent 5 times. I'm not sure if the sisters ever saw us, or maybe probably called the cops on us. I don't know. And so there was always this desire of wanting to be with the sisters and how beautiful they are. And so then, of course, I opened up and then I started asking the Lord, and he spoke to me through Psalm 27. I am your light and your salvation. Whom shall you be afraid? I am your light. In that moment in adoration, he gave me light. He gave me my salvation. Why am I afraid to respond to him when I know I'm supposed to be his? And so I kept, okay, Lord, are you sure? And then every song in Mass would be, do not be afraid, I am with you. I was like, come on now, I don't want this anymore. And so then finally I'm in Eucharistic Adoration, and I'm like, Lord, tell me, am I making this up? And he's like, look in your journal. And I don't like reading my journals because they're very mushy, because I love Jesus a lot. So it's always like, I love you, you're the love of my life. And so I finally decided to read my journal. And do you mind coming over here for a moment? I decided to read my journal. Do you know what happens next, Sister Madison?
She was going through all the stories in her journal, I don't know how to do this, and she was reading all of them, and she kept finding a very particular word in every single one of her journal entries.
Thank you so much. So that did happen to me. Thank you. So I was in adoration in my journal. I opened my journal, and I realized in every single page that I wrote to Jesus, I always wrote the word totally. I give myself totally to you. If I was talking about how bad of a day I was having, how great I was feeling, how much I love the sisters, how much I don't know what's going on in my heart, in every single journal entry, I always said, Lord, I am totally yours. My heart is totally yours. Totally, totally, totally. And I was like, oh my gosh, totally. Like, not just like sometimes, but like everything. And so then I look up at the Eucharist again, at that, like my conversion. I'm in adoration again, and I look up at him, and he said, you're mine. Do you want to give yourself totally to me? And I looked at him just like how he looked at me the very first time he showed me that he's God. And I said, yes, Lord, I'm yours, and whatever that means and whatever I have to do, I'll do it. Which means telling my non-Catholic parents that I am entering the convent, entering the house where the sisters live to become a sister. And all of whatever that entails, whatever that means, I'll do it, and I want to do it right now. So then I did. Everything that the Lord was asking me to do, I did it. And I never, ever turned back, because the plan that the Lord has for us, which I wanted to be a backup dancer for Beyonce, so obviously it's very different than what I had in mind. But no matter what plans I had or where I thought my life would be before I was Catholic, this is the happiest, most fulfilled my heart has ever been and will ever be. And I'm so excited to give him my final yes on May 13th.